Welcome to Class C by Mavi. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft and sew a beautiful waistcoat with a single welt pocket, as you can see here. Okay, so before we draft, we need to gather the materials needed. Here with me, I have my pattern paper, my tape measure, and my curve that I'll be using for the drafting process. Now, aside the drafting, the fabrics we'll be needing. Here with me, I have my crepe fabric. 1 yard of crepe fabric will do the job, and then I have lining. Okay, 1 yard or 1.5 depending on your size. I have my lining and also my ST. So I'm keeping aside the fabrics, and then we'll move straight to the sewing. Okay, I have all my cuffs completed here. Both armhole and the hip cuff is in this small French curve, right? So let's just go ahead and start drafting. So to start the drafting process, I'll simply insert a line here, which will serve as my shoulder line. So here I have my shoulder line. All my measurements will be coming from this shoulder line. Okay, so here I'm trying to mark my neckline 3 by 3, my neck width and my neck depth 3 inches by 3 inches, and then I'll link. This is not our final neckline, so I'll be linking with dotted lines. Now, dear creatives, we need an allowance for our button, so we will have to redo our neckline. So I am marking 1.5 inches inwards. 1 inch will do, but I'm making it 1.5 so that there will be ease, right? So you can use 1 inch for your button allowance. So from the center front, you mark 1 inch or 1.5 inches before you start inserting your measurements, as you can see me doing. I'm simply using my ruler to mark that line to make it very straight. So after inserting my center front line, I'm putting into consideration the button allowance. I'll come back here and mark the 3 by 3. Now the 3 by 3 will be marked on the new line we just inserted. Can you see? So this is now our basic neckline, though we'll later alter it to a V neckline. Now I am inserting my shoulder width. Shoulder width is 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5. I have simply marked 7.5. So after that, I have also marked 1 inch down. I stepped down from that point by 1 inch to create my shoulder slope. Now I am linking that 1 inch point back to the neckline. I now have a sloped shoulder. Next, I'll be marking my shoulder to chest line. Okay, if you want to divide your shoulder, if you want to derive it, you simply divide your bust circumference by 6, then you add 1.5. Okay, so for me that gives me 8.5. 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5 gives me 8.5, gives me 7.5 plus the shoulder slope gives me 8.5. So I am marking 8.5 all around the pattern. Okay, so I can get a straight line. My chest line will be also found in the back, so I want the line as long as I can. By the time I'm drafting the back, I'll extend the line backwards. So here is our chest line. Next, I'll be imputing the shoulder to bust, shoulder to nipple point, in other words. On my body, it gives me 10 inches, so I am trying to mark that 10 inches here. So I've also marked the 10 inches. I want to extend the line also. So here we have our bust line. I'll label it to bust line before we proceed. Next, I'm simply inserting my shoulder to waistline, that is the front half length, which is 17 inches. The front and back half lengths for this pattern are not the same. The back is shorter. The front is 17 inches because I took into consideration my bust while taking the measurement. I placed my tape on my shoulder and went under my bust before I got the the front half length. So that's why the back is shorter. For the back it is 15 while the front is 17. So I have marked the front. Let's now proceed. So now I'm inserting the full length. From shoulder to full length is 22 inches. Mine is a bit long. It's on the long side. So if you don't want it that long, you can do 20 or even 19.5. Okay, so I am doing 22. I want it long and well covered. I want it to cover my waist very well, especially at the back. So I am now taking the marking everywhere so I can get a straight line as usual. Now I also have my hemline and my waistline, so I'm labeling the waistline and then I'll come here and mark the full length. Okay, so after this I'll be bringing the shoulder width measurement to the chest line also. It is 7.5, remember, so I have marked it on the chest line so I can link and have my armhole line. So I have done that. Next I'll create the curve. I'll go up by 3 inches from this point and mark. This is for the front, right? I just realized that this line is not straight. Okay, so I am redrawing it again. That is the armhole line. Before we create the curve, I'm straightening the line again. So on this 3 inches point that we went up, we are to insert our across front measurements. Okay, now across front is 13 inches divided by 2 is 6.5. So on this point I'll be marking 6.5 here. Okay, take note of this 6.5 point because we'll use it on this shoulder tip, so we'll be linking them. Then let's insert our bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line also, which is 36. 7 divided by 4 is 9 1/4. So this point and this point will be linked to form our armhole curve. Can you see? So I'm simply linking them together. So here we have our armhole curve beautifully curved out. So on the bust line, we are bringing back down the bust circumference divided by 4. Then on the waistline, on the bust line, the chest line, and also the full length, I'll be inserting my bust span, which is 6.5 divided by 2 gives me 3 1/4. So I'll simply mark 3 1/4 all around those points. So having done that, I will link all the points to get my dart leg. Okay, can you see? Or my dart line, so to see. So I have my dart line now. On the waistline, I'll be marking 3/4 inch on both sides, which is in total my dart intake will be 1.5. So 3/4 on both sides I have marked, and now I'll link it to the bust point like this and like this. Then I'll take it straight down to the M line like this and like this. So we have created our darts. Now this 1.5 that we took out, we'll be adding it back, right? 1.5 will be adding it back to our waist circumference divided by 4. My waist circumference is 28 divided by 4 gives me 7. So adding it back gives me 8.5. So as you can see here, I have marked 8.5. Now to the bust line, we have already marked it, so we'll be linking now. Bust circumference divided by 4, we marked on the bust and the chest line. So we are linking it. This is how you place your curve, right? To link it to the bust area, like this. Next, you have to measure around that your hem area, the point at which you get 22 inches, right? You measure around that area and get the measurements and divide it by 4 and also insert it. So for me, that measurement is 34 inches, okay? It hasn't gotten to my hip. Well, should I call it eye hip? It's not even up to the eye hip area. It's on the low waist area, just below the belly button. So it is 34 inches. Now 34 divided by 4 gives me 8.5. So I have marked my 8.5 on that point, and I'll be linking. See how I place my curve? So I link like this. So our front is completely drafted. Before we come back and draft the waistcoat, we have our basic bodies for the front. So let's go over and draft the basic for the back before we alter to the waistcoat, right? So for the back, I'm also extending my shoulder line to the back. And also I'll be extending my chest line to the back, just like I mentioned before. So the chest line will also be extended to the back. Now to get it very straight, I'll go ahead and mark that 8.5 from the shoulder at the center back area before I will link. And here we are, I have marked. So linking it to this front will make me get a straight chest line also for the back. Now we also have our chest line, and we are now here to create the back neckline, right? So for the back neckline, I am doing 1 inch down and 3 inches on the shoulder line. I've marked the neckline. Next, I am marking the shoulder width, which is 15 divided by 2, 7.5. I'm also coming down to the chest line to mark the same 7.5 so that I can link and have my shoulder or my armhole line, okay? So that is it. We have our armhole line also for the back. Now to curve out the back armhole line, we are dividing, or before the division, we need to mark the slope, 1 inch slope. I have marked, and I'm linking it back like this. Can you see? And after that, I divide the armhole from the sloped point into 2. That's the midpoint from the sloped point to the chest line. Okay, and then I'm inserting my across back measurement. My across back is 14 divided by 2 gives me 7, and that brings me here. So I'll link these 2 points, and then the bust circumference divided by 4, 9.5, 9 1/4. I have marked here, and so I'll be linking the 3 points just like I did for the front. Lest I forget, let me mention for the front shoulder slope, I slope down by 1.5 inches, right? 1.5 inches. Though for the chest line division that I did, I still added just 1 inch for shoulder slope. Okay, that's 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5 plus 1 to get my chest line. Okay, so next I am inserting my back half length, which is 15. If you know how to draft a basic bodice, this part will be very easy for you. Even if you don't know, just learn, rewind, watch, you get it perfectly right. So we have our half length. Now for the full length. Now that full length of 22 inches is meant to be for the back, right? Because the back half length is longer by 2 inches. We are to add that 2 inches length to the front full length, right? So we are extending it down. Instead of 22, the front will now be 24. Okay, is the back that will carry that 22. So if you are drafting yours and you want your full length to be 20, for instance, that 20 should be for the back. The front must be 22 because of your bust. Okay, so by the time you close your bust dart, it will be balanced. So we'll be using that difference of 2 inches to create a bust dart. Okay, can you see I have extended the front full length? Now the back full length will now be 22. So let's just simply insert it before we proceed, before we come back and create the bust dart. So dear creatives, I've inserted the line. While inserting, I made a mistake, so this line is not useful. Okay, so I've marked the one that's not useful. It's the second one, the one below, that is our M line. Now I'm marking the waist circumference divided by 4 for the back, so 7. Now the dart intake for the back will be 1, so I'm marking 8. I have marked for the M line 34. I marked 34. You remember 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. I have marked that 8.5 also, so I'll be linking like this with my curve. Okay, it shouldn't be too curvy. So from waistline to chest line are also linked like this. Can you see? Before we now go over and insert our dart leg. To get our dart leg for the back, we are still using our bust span measurement, 3 1/4. I'm marking. Then on the chest line, I will come down by 1 inch and stop our dart. So I'll also be marking 3 1/4 on that point. Can you see? Now I'll also go to I'll link it first before I'll go to the M. Can you see? We have our dart leg from the chest line to the waistline. Now on the hemline, I'll also mark 3 1/4 so that we can bring down the dart leg. Okay, so we have done that, and then we go up by 2 inches from the hemline and mark which is where our dart will be stopping. Now the dart intake is 1/2 inch on both sides, which is 1 inch in total, like I've already mentioned. So we'll now take it to this point, 1 inch below the chest line, like this and like this, and we take it to this point, 2 inches above the hemline, like this, and also like this. So we have our dart also completely drafted at the back. So I've gone ahead to curve out my back neckline beautifully using my curved ruler. Okay, so after doing that, let's now do our alteration to the waistcoat, right? This is our button allowance. Okay, now to alter the front to our waistcoat, we'll first of all be creating a V neckline. So from the shoulder line, I am marking 9 inches down on the button allowance area, and then I'll link it to our neck point like this. Just watch me. So I have beautifully created my V neckline, putting into consideration the button allowance. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to shape out the hemline. So from the dart line, I'm dropping down by 5 inches. You can do 4, you can even do 3, depending on what you want. Okay, for this my particular waistcoat, I dropped down by 5, and then I linked to the center front, right? Can you see I have dropped the dart line? Then I'll link it to the side first, like this, and then to the center. Okay, for the center, including the button allowance, right? Link like this. Okay, so we have created our V-shaped hemline also, and here is where our buttons will be. For me, I'm targeting to use at least 5 to 6 buttons. Okay, it will be like this. It is from the drafting you will know if your waistcoat is too long or too short. If you don't want it as long as this, maybe you just want 5 buttons or 4 buttons, you can now reduce the length. Okay, so now I want to extend the dart line upwards. I'm dividing my shoulder area into 2. I've done the division, and I'll be extending the dart line to the shoulder so I can have my princess darts. Okay, now it's time to tighten our front V neckline. Okay, we need to tighten it, or in other words, to contour it beautifully so that it will not gape by the time we sew, right? Now before we do our neckline contouring, we also come to the back, divide the shoulder into 2. So at the midpoint of the shoulder, we simply link to the dart line like this, to also have a princess dart for the back. Now I'm doing my back tightening by removing 1/2 inch from the center back. I marked 1/2 inch, and now I'll be linking to the neck points like this, and then like this. Okay, so this is for me to have a back that lays flat, right? If you want your waistcoat back to lie very flat, you must take note of this contouring. So next, I'll be creating my side dart with the 2 inches difference of the back and the front half length. Okay, I have marked 2 inches down and I am linking it to the bust point like this. So by the time this dart is closed, the front and back half lengths will become equal. So these are our darts that will be cutting out. This for the back. Now let's now come over to contour our V neckline. For the contouring, you simply trace the midpoint of the neckline like this. You mark, then you just insert a line there in no particular order. Then you create a dart, 1/4 inch on each side. Okay, you are creating a dart of 1/2 inch. Mark 1/4 inch here and 1/4 inch here like this, and then create a dart this way. Okay, now you'll be closing this dart with a masking tape. As you can see me doing, you have to close the dart. While trying to close the dart, you see that the pattern is not lying flat again. By the time we cut, everything will lay flat. Okay, I'm trying to get a masking tape, so I've gotten one and I've taped it down. As you can see, there's a discrepancy. Our line is bending, so you redraw the line like this. Can you see? So our V-shaped neckline will not gape. It has been beautifully contoured. So after contouring the neckline, let's cut out. Now, while cutting out, there was a part that wasn't recording, so I want to enlighten you on what exactly I did. Okay, so I have to put everything back. The first thing I did, I measured these parts and then brought it here to ensure that both lines are equal, so that by the time we close the side dart, it will be equal. And I link like this and like this before cutting out. Okay, so this was how I cut out. Just follow my scissors, cut out like this, like this. I still have to show the process so that when you are doing yours, you will not get confused at any point, right? So I've cut out this part, and then this is a center front. Then I proceeded to cutting out like this, and like this. Also here and here. Okay, I hope you get this right. So we'll now close our bust dart. So having closed our bust dart, you can see that there is something a little sharp here. So we'll contour it. We will blend it out like this and then cut off so that there will be nothing protruding. We need every part to be well blended out. Okay, so now that we have closed our side dart, let's compare our back and front half lengths. Okay, if they are now equal, this is our side back, and here we have our side front. Can you see? They are so equal now. Okay, Here our back patterns are also ready. This is the side back as we already have written on it, and then we also here have the center back. So I'm here writing center back on it. Okay, our back pattern is ready, and here we have our front patterns. So these are the patterns we'll be transferring to fabric. While transferring to fabric, we'll be marking 1/2 inch everywhere, and then for the side back and the side front, we'll be adding 1 inch sewing allowance, but for every other part we'll be adding 1/2 inch, right? Dear creatives, we have transferred our patterns to fabric. As you can see, we added 1/2 inch on every side except for the sides. So this is the front pattern, so it is in twos. We cut out in twos. So we have also fused interfacing. We fuse ST into this. Can you see? This is on one side, and then the other part is on the other side. So we cut out 2 for each pattern, right? I hope that is gotten. The first thing you want to do, go to the machine and join this side together like this. Okay, so I'll go and press open the seam like this and then iron it nicely. But before I iron, I'll also stitch the other side. Okay, so can you see? I'll join it before we go over and iron. So while someone is doing the ironing for me, I'll go ahead and also join the back. So as usual, I'm joining the side back to the center back first. So here I'm done joining one side. I'll also join the other side. Okay. If you want to see how I created the single welt pockets, hang around, watch carefully, do not omit any part so you don't miss out in the welt pocket creation. So I'm done joining both sides of the back. Now it's time to join the center back of each of the sides, right? So we'll be joining the two sides at the center back. Okay, there's a discrepancy here. I'm equalizing it now. Okay, so to join both sides, you just simply place them together, right sides facing each other, right? So this is the center that we want to join. So we face them like this and simply join them with half an inch sewing allowance. Okay, now our back is also complete. Just the same way we iron the front, we'll also go ahead and iron the back. So dear creatives, the front has been ironed already. Okay, the seam have been opened flat and have been ironed. Can you see? So we are having this now. Here is our button allowance. By the time we fix our buttons, it will be like this. Can you see that our waistcoat is already forming? Now before we proceed, we'll have to go ahead and create a welt pockets. Okay, it is time to create our welt pockets. To create our welt pockets, we'll be fixing it here. Okay, you can actually do double, that's two on both sides, but for me I am placing it only on one side. Here we also have our back pattern beautifully ironed. Can you see? Okay, the seam lines have been opened and ironed flat. By the time we are done creating the welt pockets, we'll be attaching the front to the back. However, let's go ahead and create a single welt pockets. So to create the single welt pockets, I'll be working with the right side, okay, the right side of my body. So I'll keep aside the left. I'll be placing the welt pocket 1 inch below my waistline. Okay, my waistline is 17 inches, so I'll drop down by 1 inch, which will give me 18 inches. So from the shoulder I'll mark 18 inches, which will take me to where the welt pocket should be. So the waistline is 17 here. Dropping down gives me 18. So I have marked 18 inches. It is that point that my welt pocket will be. So I'm taking into cognizance the the button allowance, then the side seam 1 inch allowance. I'll also mark it now, so that by the time I'm creating the length of the welt pocket, I know where I am creating and stopping. So these two are out. In between is where I'll create it now. So from this side, I'll mark 1 inch inwards like this. Then from this side too, I'm marking 1 inch inward like this. So this will be our welt pocket's length. Okay. So I will be inserting a line here. So I have inserted, I've measured the length of the line. It's about 6.25 inches. Can you see? From here to here, 6.25 inches. So that will be the length of our welt pocket. Now on each side, you are marking 1/2 inch like this and like this. On this side too, you mark 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch upwards to link. After that, you link the points together so you have a 1 inch opening for the welt pockets. Can you see now? Now I'll go ahead and re-emphasize the center line. Okay. I've also done that. Now from each side, you step in by 1/2 inch. Just watch me. From this side, let's do this one first. I came in by 1/2 inch like this. And then on this other side, I'm also coming in by 1/2 inch. Can you see? So after that, I'll link back to the edge, to the angle like this, trying to form a triangle at that point. On this side too, I take to the angle. This other side, I'm repeating the same process. So next, you cut out your fabric according to this width. Okay, I've cut out mine in this shape. This is a pocket bag, so it must be from here to here, with at least 1/2 inch allowance on each side. So it should be at least 1 inch longer than the created welt pockets. I mean the drawn out welt pockets. So can you see? This is about 1 inch wider. So that's how it should be. So on it, to recap it, see the length of our pocket here to here. That means on each side, this pocket bag should be having 1/2 inch excess on each side. Can you see? So we have it. It's a little bit more than 1/2 inch. It is fine. It is very much fine. So that's how you should cut it out. Okay. Then we also have other parts that we have cut out that I'll be showing you. So I have this one. It is a 2 inches stripe. I folded it into 2 and ironed nicely. Okay. This is about, it's a little more than 2 inches because I want my welt pocket to be a little bold. Okay, so I'll place it like this and place this on top like this. This is on fold and I've ironed it nicely, right? For the pocket bag, it's just one single one you are adding here like this. So you can pin it down, go over to your machine and sew like this. Okay, from one end of the drawn out pocket to the other end, sewing with 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So as we are sewing, we are starting from here. Can you see where we marked to be the end of the pocket? That's where we are starting from, the beginning of the pocket. So the other side also, the end of the pocket. So you back stitch and then you continue to stitch. Mind you, you are not taking it to the end of the fabric. You are stopping here, okay? This line, that's where you are stopping. You must leave out at least half an inch allowance, okay? So now that we are here, you back stitch and then we turn it like this and bring this other fabric. This fabric is 2 inches from here to here, 2 inches. We are not folding this one. We leave it like this and then attach here, okay? So we are also attaching it to the welt pockets that we've drawn out already. Here to here, that's what we are stitching according to what we have marked out, okay? So just watch me. So this time around, we are coming to stop here like this. So let me get a chalk and mark it out. So I am marking it now. This is where we'll be stopping the sewing. It's very important. You may not see, but I've seen what I have marked. So I'll just sew accordingly and get to that point before we continue. So we have reached where we marked. We have opened up, back stitch and open up. Let's go over to the table now and continue. So dear creatives, here is where we are. Can you see? Can you see what we have? So these sides must be equal. These sides, okay, they must be equal, and they are equal for this our own sewing. So we'll go ahead and open up like this. Can you see the inside? So it's time to open up our pocket. You hold it like this and then just cut through that center line. Remember the line we drew first, okay? That is the line we are cutting open now. And then we go ahead, cut to each side. Remember the triangle? When you get to the triangle, you cut through the triangle to get to this seam, okay? The end of this seam, right? Creatives, after cutting open, we'll go ahead and continue arranging our pockets. So for this part, for the pocket bag, we had 2, if you can remember. So one was used this way and the other one will now be attached to this part like this, okay? Follow it step by step, you get it right. It is not hard. Mind you, we are done cutting open, right? So we just come here and attach it like this. My power supply failed me, so I'm using the manual machine for this. So let's just sew together. So far, this is where we are now. We are progressing. Can you see? So we have cut open also. We have our triangle here. Can you see? So this is how you cut yours. So I'm removing the excess threads so I can turn over, okay? For this triangle part, you ensure that you cut it to the end of the seam, right? Compulsorily, so it can lay flat by the time you turn out. Okay, so let's now turn out or turn in, if if I may say so. So it is in no particular order. You just hold everything together and turn like this. So we have our pocket inside and the beautiful welt outside. Watch me. You put this inside and this inside. Okay. Now you flip over to the other side. Okay. Flip over like this. This is what we are having. Then you pick the triangle. Okay. Just watch what I'm doing. So you hold this part together like this, okay, including the triangle, and then sew. On both sides you do the same thing. Hold it together like this and sew. So let's continue the sewing process. So dear creatives, after sewing, this is what we have, and we have also sewn on this other side. Can you see? So we went round like this all through. We have also closed our pocket bag in the process. Turning it out, this is what we are having. Can you see our welt pocket? It is ready. We'll go over to the ironing table also and press it to stay flat. Okay, so this is it. Look at the inside. Very nice. So do well to drop your questions in the comment section so I can answer them. If there is anything you still want to learn, if you want to learn a double welt pocket, you let me know. So when you are drafting your waistcoat, you can decide to make your own welt pocket smaller. You can decide to insert it on both sides of your waistcoat. Okay, so let's go over and start joining back to front. So this is the front part, the part I just showed now. Look at the welt pocket. See how deep the pocket is. It's so nice. So we have two sides for this front, as you already know. The other side, I did not insert a welt pocket. The welt pocket was just for the tutorial, so it's only on one side, and it has a way of fitting also, having it only on one side. Okay, you can as well attach on this side if you want to. So now we want to join back to front. Can you see? You join by the shoulders and then by the sides. So by the side, I'm joining with 1 inch side seam allowance, just like I've given during the transfer to fabric process. I gave 1 inch allowance for side seam. Okay, so I'm using it to sew accordingly. I'm at the end on one side. Okay, I'll now switch over to the other side also and stitch with 1 inch sewing allowance. So we are also done on this side. That means we are totally done joining the fashion fabric. Okay, we are done and our jacket is almost ready. What we have left is to attach the lining. Can you see how beautiful the jacket is turning? The waistcoat is turning. Okay, so let's go ahead and join the lining. For the lining also, I want you to note that I've joined it exactly the same way I joined the fashion fabric. Look at the lining here. Look at the fashion fabric here. I mean to say the fashion fabric was joined and we attached the welt pocket, right? The single welt pocket. But for the lining, it was joined exactly the same way except for the single welt pockets. Okay, so I know you already know how we got to this point. You can sew this. If you can sew this on the fabric, you can also sew it on the lining. Look at the lining. So it has been sewn, it has been pressed also down beautifully. For the lining, the center front area, we use the same fabric. We use the fashion fabric for the center front area. This is to ensure neatness and stability, right? So we are done doing that. The next thing we want to do is to join the lining to the fashion fabric. Okay, for this you just simply pin the neckline, the seam lines, aligning the seam lines together. I'll be starting the joining from the neckline area. I'll align the seam lines together, the center back seam line for the fashion fabric and the center back seam line for the lining will be pinned in place. Okay, and then go over to the sewing machine and start sewing. You can decide to pin every other side too, but look at where I'm aligning. I pin this in place to ensure that they are all aligned. Look at the shoulder, it's aligned. Okay, so after pinning, we'll go to the machine and start the sewing process. So that's how I'll continue sewing and aligning the points until I'll get to the end. Dear creatives, as you can see, we are back to where we started from, the center back neckline. Can you see? So we are basically done. Okay, we have sealed our pattern, our waistcoats, except for the opening on the armhole area. So we'll turn it out through the armhole area, then we'll later come back and close the armhole. I'll be showing you how to close the armhole and still retain the neatness of the jacket. Now before I'll turn it out, I'll be clipping the neckline and every other part. Okay, just follow suit, so the concentration is on the neckline. So I'm clipping, cutting through very close to the thread, okay, but not allowing the cut to go through the thread, okay. So I'm just basically clipping all around. I've practically clipped all around, so it's now time for me to open up. As already mentioned, I'm passing through the armhole to turn it over, okay. So just watch me do that. So we have turned it out, and this is what we are having. So the next thing to do is to press it nicely, okay, to lay very flat and make it very beautiful before we now come over and then close the armhole, okay. Dear creatives, welcome back. So here is where we are now. Can you see? So we have ironed nicely and our waistcoat is coming out very well. Can you see? So this is where we'll be fixing our buttons. But before the button, our main target now is to close our armhole. Everywhere is covered except for the armhole area. We need to cover it and still retain the neatness of the waistcoat. So the first thing we'll do, you get your seam ripper and then rip open the center back seam or any other seam that you choose, and you know that can be easily closed and will not be obvious, okay. So I've gotten my seam ripper. Here I am with my seam ripper trying to rip open the center seam line, okay. You can use a bigger seam ripper, it all depends. For me, is this small one that I'm having in my disposition right now, so I am using it. I think this is already too big, but you can do something smaller provided your arms can go into it like this, okay. So this is where we'll be passing to close our armhole. So you just pass through like this. You hold this fashion fabric and the lining together, and you try as much as possible to face their right sides on each other like this, okay. And then you sew just like this. We're on the machine now, dear creatives. Let's take it again, okay. Please pay more than the usual attention, because if you miss this part, you won't get it right again. So you put your hand like this, you hold the fashion fabric and the lining together. Can you see they are together? But you have to now turn their both right sides to face each other. Can you see? This is the right side of the fashion fabric, this is the right side of the lining. They face each other like this. Can you see? Hold them together like this and then you sew. So I've succeeded in holding them together, and then I'll start the sewing process. Just watch me as I sew. So we are now back to the armhole area now where we started from. Can you see? So at that point you open up your seam so it lays so flat. So I've back stitched, and let's now open up to see what we have. So as you can see, we have finished the armhole beautifully. Can you see? So we have finished one side. For the sake of those who may not get this right, I am repeating the process for the second side, right? So the dress is like this, right? So this opening we created, we are targeting this armhole that's still open here, okay? So this opening we created, you just pass through it, get to the armhole area, okay, and you hold it like this, facing the fashion fabric right side to the lining right side, like this. From the inside, you don't hold them together from the outside, right? Let's take it again. You go inside like this, you hold this armhole like this through the inside, please not outside, through the inside, and you align the right sides facing each other like this. Can you see? And now after facing it like this, you go ahead and stitch. So you just stitch like this until you get to the end. You just take it round. Let's take it round and open it up together so that you get everything right. So we have our armholes both beautifully finished. Can you see? So the only opening we are having is that center back opening that we used in closing the armhole, right? This opening, this is the only opening that we have. So to close this opening, first I'll sew it to more than half, just small will be remaining. So let's just sew. I'll hold it like this and then just sew it close to an extent, okay? So dear creatives, as you can see, our opening is very small now. Can you see? So for this, you can just hold it together like this, and then you tack it, okay, with your hand needle and matching thread. You tack it close neatly and iron it nicely. So we are done. Take a look at it on the mannequin. So here is it on the mannequin, the front view first. At this point, if you have not subscribed to the channel, do well to subscribe so you don't miss out in any of our tutorials. And if you have enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up, like and share. If you have a question, drop in the comment section. Okay, should I do a tutorial on a double welt pocket? Let me know. Take a look at the back view of our waistcoat. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.